we're back, and today we're going to talk about the third great suffix rule, changing Y to I. We know that the letter Y has 3 different sounds. It can be a consonant and say y at the beginning of a word or syllable. It can be a vowel and make the I sound at the end of a word. So in the word spy, the Y is representing the I sound. Or it could also represent the E sound in the end of 2-syllable words like candy. Well, there's actually a 4th sound of Y. We didn't learn about this a few weeks ago because there aren't very many words. It's not very common, and it's kind of a tricky pattern. But sometimes Y in the middle of a syllable can actually make the short I sound, like myth, or hymn, or crypt, or syrup. And knowing that is really important for today's suffix pattern. So if I have a word that ends in Y, and the Y is representing the long I sound, so it's a short word with a Y at the end that makes the I sound, like in spy. If I want to make this present tense or plural, I would typically add just the letter S. But watch what happens when I add suffix S to spy. Then this Y actually looks like it's that 4th sound of Y, making the short I sound. This would actually say spis. So we have a suffix rule that's a little bit tricky, and here's what it is. When a word ends in Y, and I need to add a suffix, I change the Y to an I, and then I add my suffix. But I still don't want to just add the S because this would still say spis. So instead I use ES. So we say change the Y to I and add ES. Well, what if I want spy to be spied? I spied on you last week. If it happens in the past, I use ED. So again, I change the Y to I and add ED. Let's look at a couple other words. How about if I have the word cried? The baby cried all night. What do? I change the Y to an I and add ED. Or present tense, the baby cries all day long. Change my Y to I and add ES. Okay, there's 2 exceptions of when we have a suffix that we do not change the Y to an I. And I think you can figure out why. If I have the word crying, the baby is crying all day, and I change the Y to an I and add ing, notice what happens. Yes, now I have a double I, and we never or very rarely have a double I in English. So when I add the suffix ing, I keep the Y. My second exception is when I have a word that ends in Y, but the previous letter is a vowel. I don't want to change Y to I and then add a suffix with a vowel, because then I'm going to have 3 vowels in a row, and we rarely have that in English. So instead, I just keep my Y and add S. Okay, let's do some encoding or spelling. If you have your morphology template out, go ahead and follow along. You can also use a whiteboard. Let's say that I have the word flying, and I want to spell flying. First step, what's my base word? My base word is fly. F-O-I. No English word ends in I, so I know I'm going to use my Y. My suffix is ing. Now I have to stop and think. I need to decide, am I chopping or dropping? Am I doubling? Or am I changing Y to I? Or do I leave it alone? Notice that when I have a Y, if I changed it to I would have two I's. So this is one of my exceptions, and I'm just going to add ing. Let's try another one. How about if my base word is lady, but I have more than one, so I have ladies. Spell lady. Lay. D. Lady is my base word. Lady. And I have the Y saying E at the end of a two-syllable word. If I just add an S, this would say ladies. So I know I need my change the Y to I rule. Change my Y to I and add ES. My word is ladies. And it's spelled like this. Let's do one final word. Let's say I need to study, and I studied all night long for my test. My base word is study. Study. And it happened in the past, so I write ED. You're right. Change the Y to an I and add ED. I studied for my test all night long. So when I have a base word that ends in Y, I change Y to I before adding most suffixes. Good luck this week, and I'll see you next time.